Good afternoon, everybody. So actually, Christian's talk was a great, really foundation and background to what I'm going to talk about, which is actually a new European project, exactly building on those concepts, but actually really trying to see, can we really bring into a resource-efficient economy by promoting those servicizing models on a large scale. So some of the examples that we heard before were, avniR or another small company there, but we really see those concepts flowing around in the last, I would say, 10 to 15 years, but almost no scalability. So what happens if actually all the companies within that sectors or for that specific service will move into this model? Would we really see a more sustainable economy? Can we really actually measure that it brings us to the right direction? So this project is a FP7 European project, so I'm enforced to give, the promotion to the EU Commission on the FP7 program just as a background for the project. So it's a new project. It's just started in July. It's 10 consortium partners with a project of overall 3 million euros to be conducted in the next 3 years. And the diversity of the consortium is really interesting. We have partners from UK, Sweden, Finland, Lithuania, Netherlands, Spain, and Israel. And it's a combination of policymakers and research institutes, which is a very important combination for us because at the end of the day, the goal of this project is to help create policy that will bring us to a more resource-efficient economy in Europe, which is characterized by achieving absolute decoupling, meaning that we really detach the economic growth that Christian talked about from using resources. We see already some evidence for relative decoupling for those that are familiar with the language. I don't have the time to go through that, but we don't see the actual absolute decoupling happening yet. And we're going to use life cycle tools to really try to model and see if we can get to absolute decoupling through those servicizing models. And at the end of the day, the aim is to create servicizing policy packages. So we can come to policymakers at different level and say, listen, if you do this, you might get into a more sustainable economy through those servicizing models. If you do that, you're not going to make there. Or invest in this sector for servicizing, but not in that sector, because here it's really more sustainable, while in other sectors you're only going to see the rebound effect and you're not really get to achieve the absolute decoupling. So the phases of the project are after, we already heard about the concept of servicizing. There were different works done. Some call it product system service, some call it functional economy, some call it services. So really streamline the terminology and the language about that. Build the methodology tools that we need, like integrating life cycle assessment into a very advanced model of agent-based modeling and other models and methodologies that we need to have. And then look at servicizing in different 3 sectors. The main 3 sectors are water sector, mobility sector, and agri-food sector. And one of the innovations of this project is about mobility. We already have a lot of examples going on for servicizing, but in the water sector and in the agri-food sector, we almost have no examples. So one of the ideas is to really innovate in those sectors that have a very large environmental impact, but so far we didn't see any servicizing models, even on a small scale, happening. And once we have those 3 specific sectors case studies, then to see if there are any changes between countries. So maybe there is a model that will work in the mobility for the UK, but will not work in Israel because cultural aspects, because consumer behavior aspects, because local environmental aspects that affect the way we do business or the way we think as consumers and as businesses. And from all of that to actually get into policy packages that we can come and say, this works, this doesn't work. And it's the concept of policy packages it's never one policy. It's always complementing policies that must happen together in order to really make it a reality. We are looking at 2 main core aspects: business models, what will happen, what businesses will accept and move into, what type of business models, and also what consumers need to do in order to move to those. But businesses and consumers are important, but we also look at the role of eco-innovation, the role of ICT, and the role of infrastructure in order to support and enable those models. We are using existing tools like LCA, the traditional LCA, the input-output analysis, the hybrid LCA tools, but we also work on developing new tools like dynamic LCA. LCA is great when we know what we model, but when we don't know how the supply chain structure will change, we don't know what to model. So we must move into some more creative LCA models. We also need to be able to integrate it to what we call agent-based models, because from economic point of view, each agent, consumers, businesses, infrastructure providers, will do their own little thing, whatever is optimized from economic perspective to them. But from environmental perspective, from life cycle thinking perspective, we care about the entire system. So we need to know how to better integrate those LCA data with actual agent-based models and basically take out the simulation results and really try to drive policy packages and recommendations out of that. So what I would like to say is that we are looking for stakeholders and partners to contribute to the case studies. And this is a perfect timing because, as I said, we're going to have the water, mobility, and agri-food. We already saw in the last 2 days a lot of different LCA studies and issues related to the food industry, related to water footprint, related to mobility. And we actually want to go and model what happens if we either take a completely new servicizing idea that was never implemented before, so a new business idea, or what happens if we take the tires example, or the battery example that Inbal will talk about, or any other example that already exists but on a small scale, and what will happen if we put it on a large scale, how the economy will look like, and would we really achieve the desired absolute decoupling that we talk about. So we are looking for either companies that want to test their ideas or companies that want to see competitive issues, what will happen if everyone will move to those. And we will need LCA data for that. We will need the business ideas for that. And of course, we will need the country-specific setup in order to achieve that. So I will finish by just inviting you to learn more about the project. We have a website, we have a Facebook webpage, and my email is here to the right. I would really appreciate people that are interested to collaborate and contact me. It's the timing. We right now work on the generic model and the methodology development, and in a few months, we're going to move into the case studies. So we are generating right now case studies, bank of case studies to choose from. And for those that are familiar with complexity research and agent-based model, this is something very unique, very novel, that gets a lot of attention in the recent years in the industrial ecology research field. And it's something very innovative, and we're really excited about this project and about this opportunity. So thank you for your attention.
Great, thanks very much.